Hey guys, so welcome back to another Worship Wednesday video. I'm so excited about today's video, so we're just going to jump right into it and not waste too much time on the intro. So today we're going to be talking about stage presence, why it's important and how to improve on it if it's something that you struggle with or something that you just want to continue getting better at. So we're going to jump right in, and I'll tell you a little bit about my background denominationally a little bit, just to kind of give you an idea of what I'm used to and all that kind of thing, because I know that every church is different. Every church does things just a little bit differently, and that's okay as long as we're all glorifying God, right? So I grew up until I was about 9 or 10 in a non-denominational church, and then at about age 10, I went to an Assembly of God church, and I stayed in that Assembly of God church until I was 20. So I grew up mostly AG. You can look into it a little bit more if you'd like to, but basically Assembly of God is the largest branch of the Pentecostal denomination. So that's kind of how I grew up. So I grew up in a fun church, and I love that. I think that church and God and all of this stuff should be so fun, because I believe that the heart of God is just exciting, and He has such a personality, such a huge personality, and He's made us all unique in our own personalities, and so I just love having fun at church. The kind of worship leading style I would say that I have is pretty wild and pretty exciting, and I like to jump and I like to move around, and it's just the way that I like to worship. I like to be free in worship, and I have so much fun when I'm leading, and so that's what I try to instill in any worship team that I am with. Is stage presence and why it's so important and why it truly does matter. So we're going to talk about that just a little bit today. Again, you may be from a totally different background. Some of this stuff might sound wild to you, but this is just kind of my experience and what I believe, and I'm excited to share it with you today. So, number one, why is stage presence important? Well, I know that this can kind of be a weird thing. When you're talking about worship and church and all that, you think, well, it's not really a performance, so what does stage presence matter? You're just worshiping, and you have those arguments. And so really, worship there is a performance aspect to being on a stage in worship. Now, it doesn't mean that it's not authentic. It's still real, it's still authentic, but of course, you have to express it. So worship is an outward expression of what God is doing on the inside. So that's why it's so important, just to outwardly express what He's doing in you. And so that's where stage presence comes in. And it's very, very important, because if God's doing exciting things in you, which I hope He is, and I believe that He is, I know that He is in me, then you want to show that on your outward expression. So why is it so important? Well, because people will never do more than you are doing. They're never going to do that. So you are leading them, right? Well, and I'm not just talking to the lead, the worship pastor. I'm talking to the whole team, the drummer, the guitar player, the singers, whatever you might be. You are leading people. Somebody is looking at you. And I always tell my team this, that somebody might come in and they might say, I really don't care about this worship leader. I don't even like her, but I like that drummer. He is so good, and I'm going to watch him. And their eyes just watch him the whole time, right? They don't watch me because they don't like me. And that happens, and I'm totally aware of that. So that's why the team is so important with the way that they are getting engaged. If you are leading right here as far as your excitement level and your stage presence, people are going to be right here, or maybe even here. They're never going to be up here. They're never going to do more than what you are doing. You are the leader. So another reason this is so important is actually, I'm going to reference the Bible for a second. God tells us to make a joyful noise. You can read about this in Psalm 98:4. So I think joyful and boring don't quite line up. Okay, that's my opinion. That's my belief, is to be joyful is, to me, that's exciting. To be, God is so good and I'm so happy about it. So you're going to show an excitement level. So another reason is, not only does it give your congregation a sense of freedom to worship in their own way, but it gives you a sense of freedom. So it's so important as a worship leader, and again, everybody on that stage is leading. Even people in the crowd can be leading if they're doing all of this stuff, if they're being leaders. So no matter who you are, this is important to know. And I personally feel so free and so alive in worship, and I feel just so on fire in worship. And so it's a freeing experience for you and for your congregation to have that experience together. So, I know that a lot of different denominations and things like that, they have their own beliefs on whether or not you should jump and dance and move in church, or if it should just be very kind of, calm and collected. And I know everybody does it differently, but you'll kind of see in 2 Samuel, it teaches us that David danced before the Lord with all his might. And I think so many times throughout the Bible, this is reference of making a joyful noise, dancing before God, being so excited to be in the house of God. So you'll notice David didn't just stand there, okay? And you can say, well, everybody has their own way of worshiping, and that is very true. But it needs to be some kind of expression. He didn't just stand there and say, oh, God, you're really good. He danced. He showed that expression, and that's how God created us, is to be expressive and to show our excitement. Everyone will express it differently, but it's important that it's expressed in some way. If you're excited about God, you are going to do something. So think about people at like a sporting event or a concert or whatever, right? And no matter what their personality is like normally, if they're sitting at this game and their favorite team just scored, or they're at this concert for their favorite performer and they walk out, they are going to be excited. They don't care about the people around them. They're going to get wild because they can't control it, because they are so excited. And that's the kind of worshipers that I believe we are called to be, is excited worshipers that give it everything they have, because God is more exciting than anything else, any sporting event, any concert, anything like that. He is worthy of that kind of praise, that crazy praise. So that is, something to keep in mind. And what I always even tell my congregations that I'm leading for, you would get excited over a game, get excited over a concert. So let's get excited about the King of Kings. That is something worth shouting about and worth having an outward expression for. So how do I improve my stage presence? That could be a question you might have. Maybe you say, hey, I have some. I understand the reason behind it. I understand why it's needed or why it's necessary, but what can I do to get better? So I'm going to give you a couple of practical things just first, and then I'll move on into some more spiritual. So practically, make eye contact with your congregation. Now, I know this sounds incredibly scary and awkward. You're like, why would I stare at them? You don't have to stare at them, but you want to make eye contact. People like to be acknowledged, so don't make it feel like it's just you guys on stage and them sitting out there and they're watching you and that's it. There's no real connection there. People like connection. They like for you to look at them, to smile at them, to engage them, to understand they are there and you're all worshiping together as one, and it's not just them watching you. So relationship, being relational is everything in ministry, really, and in life, I think. So that's so important. So second one is really simple. Stop caring about what people think. I don't want to step on any toes with this, but I promise you, boring looks more awkward. Okay, I'm just going to be honest with you. Boring on a stage when you're worshiping and you're on a fast song, everybody else is excited and you're standing there, that looks more awkward than if you were to just be excited and have fun. It looks more awkward to just be standing there. So, and even at that, who cares what people think? There's always going to be somebody. I mean, if you see the way I lead worship, there are people that are like, why do you act like that? Why are you jumping like that? Why are you yelling? But I don't care. That's how I worship. That's how I like to express my excitement for God. And I know that it makes God happy. I know that it makes him smile. So that's my whole purpose. So you can't allow the crowd to determine your worship, okay? If they're acting, which this will happen, trust me, if they're acting like they are still asleep that morning and they are not going to wake up during that whole worship set, it doesn't mean that you give less, okay? That is not permission for you to give less, okay? And if there's a small crowd, maybe you're at a small church and you have 5 people there, and they are not one bit excited. That is not permission for you to give less, okay? 5 people, 5 million people, you are there for the same reason. Whether they are excited, whether they are not, you are there for the same reason. You are there to worship. You are their leader. You don't just meet them where they're at and stay there with them and just stay on their level, but you want to encourage them to go deeper. So you are the leader. You are leading this, and you have to take authority in that. But also, you are there to worship God. You are a worshiper, and you are there to do that no matter what the atmosphere might be like. And I always tell my team, and I always grew up being told this in worship teams, you got to have the audience of one mentality. So you're not there for them. You, of course, want to lead them. You want to take them with you into the presence of God, but you are really there to worship God, and He is your audience. He is the one that you want to please. So I have the audience of one mentality that I'm going to give God the same no matter where I'm at, what I'm doing, whether it's Sunday or Monday, I'm giving Him the same. So another very practical thing, especially I feel like for women, this can be a big thing. Wear clothes that you can still move in. I don't recommend wearing a shirt that you feel like you have to constantly tug on, or the most uncomfortable shoes that you own. Don't do that when you're trying to be on a stage and leading worship, because it's just distracting. It's distracting to you. It can be distracting to other people. Find those good worship shoes. I have some that I'm like, I can lead really well in those, and it sounds stupid sometimes, but it's true. Find something you're comfortable in and that won't distract you. I talked about this before, but you have to understand there is a performance level to it. And again, I want to reiterate this because it's so important. That does not mean it's not real. That doesn't mean it's not authentic. I'm just saying you have to outwardly express what's going on the inside. And if that's not natural or comfortable to you, you have to practice that. So watch yourself. Watch yourself on video. If you have a live stream, watch it. If you don't, have somebody record you. It's very important to watch yourself. And I'm not just saying watch yourself and say, oh, my drummer could have done this, or my guitar player could have done this, or look at my singers, what are they doing? Don't do that. Watch yourself, even the parts that just make you cringe, because as worship leaders, we a lot of times don't like to watch ourselves, or as singers and musicians in general. But you have to watch those parts that you may have messed up, that you may have been awkward, that you may have done something, and say, hey, I could improve this. And then before you present anything as a worship pastor to your team, you say, hey, this is what I did, this is what I can improve on, and this is what we as a whole can improve on. So you have to understand that it's your job as a worship pastor, a singer, a drummer, a guitarist, whatever you might be doing. It's your job to show people the heart of God and lead them to Him. So you have to learn about His character. You have to learn about who God is. And we have personalities. All of us have unique individual personalities. Some of us are wild and crazy and fun. Some of us are just more emotional and more sentimental. He gives us all of that for a reason. So, God created us in His image. So He has all of these different personality traits, and He's so fun. And so I think it's so important to learn about God's character and understand He has a personality. He isn't boring, and He created you the way that you are for a reason. He created you uniquely. So understand the heart of God, the personality of God, and you'll be able to display it a lot better. So I'm almost done with this video, but you can't you can't take someone to a place that you have never been. That's something I've always been told, is something I have lived by, and I'm going to say it one more time. You cannot take somebody to a place that you have never been. So if you want your crowd to engage in worship, your congregation, you can never take them to that place if you are not going there daily, right? You cannot take them there. So let it become a lifestyle. Don't just get excited about God when you are on stage in front of people, because that will never work for you. It will look fake. It won't be natural. You won't know what to do. If you're doing this as a lifestyle every day, when I worship, when I'm listening to worship music, I'm excited about God. I get so excited about what He's doing in my life. When I'm praying, I'm excited. I'm enthusiastic. And of course, there are those moments, which there will be in worship, where you're just calm and you're just collected and just basking in the presence. There's a time for everything. So, with that being said, you have to let it become a lifestyle. You have to work hard at making sure you're seeking the face of God every day. So it will get easier. It will become natural for you. It'll become something that you just do without even thinking about it. Once you work on this and practice this stuff that I've just given you, it'll become so natural. It may be awkward at the beginning, but you just have to fight through that, and you will get better. Your stage presence will improve. I had a background even before I jumped into being on worship teams, which I was very young when I did that, but even before and during that time, I had experience with performing, even outside of, worship leading and being on worship teams. So I have been able to kind of blend my different experiences together and allow them to work in harmony with each other. But you may not have a background in performing whatsoever. And if you don't, that's totally fine. You are still a worshiper. You're still called to be a worshiper. And God has given you what you need to do that. And so you may feel like, I don't have the personality for it or this or that, but I promise you, God has given you what you need. I don't have a crazy personality off stage. People all the time tell me, you're so different on stage. And it's not that it's not authentic. It's just that that is truly who I am. I'm allowed to be free and myself on stage when I'm worshiping. Not only when I'm on stage, but even off stage if somebody else is leading. I'm able to do that because I go into that place of freedom. So no matter what your personality is like, if God has called you to it, God is going to bring you through it. He is going to equip you to what He's called you to do. So thank you guys for watching today's video. I hope you got something out of it. Leave a comment. Let me know if there's anything specific I can be praying for you. And I hope you have a great day, and I hope that you have an awesome time this Sunday or whenever you're going to be leading worship next, and you're able to instill some of these different principles we talked about, and just give it your all. Go all in all the time, and I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I'll see you next Wednesday.